Hi guys, welcome to another beer review, and one that I am very excited to try. Been wanting to try this beer for such a long time, but nowhere near me has been selling it. I've never seen it when I've been in Leeds or Manchester, and I've never seen it online. I've probably overlooked it on some websites, I don't know, but I've never seen it. And when I met up with Rob to go to the Beernomicon Bolsha in Manchester, he sent me a photo. I think it was either the morning of or the day before of a little trip he made to Trembling Madness, and he asked if he showed me a picture of this and the is it the Kreutzen from Schlenkerla, and asked, do you want to pick you up a bottle of this and a bottle of that, and I was like, hell yes. So so as you can tell by the thumbnail and the title, we're going back over to Bamberg, and this is a bottle of the Brauerei Spezial, and this is the Spezial Rauchbier. Now pronounced German accent there for no reason, but yeah, just the artwork on this is absolutely stellar, and there of course is the crown, which is just as magnificent. And 4.9% ABV, gebraut nach dem Bayerisches Reinheitsgebot from 1560. Momentarily forgot German numbers then. In fact, my German has just... not that it was like up there when I was living there, but it's definitely gone downhill. Would that be 1516, I think? Not too sure. So probably the most well-known Rauchbier, aside from Schlenkerla, which is a lot more common to find outside of Germany, and even throughout Bavaria and Germany in general. That's the one Rauchbier that I saw the most of, although it wasn't like on a daily basis. Although there was a Getränktemarkt a stone's throw away from where I was living at the time that was selling this for, selling the Schlenkerla Rauchbier Märzen for like 90 cents a bottle. I still need to make a pilgrimage to Bamberg. I was intending of, because I've got a wedding coming up in October for a couple of friends who I unfortunately had to leave behind, and I was like aiming to do like a week in Bavaria and go to places that I'd not been to, and Bamberg was on that list. But I think I need to just control my spending a little bit. So there'll definitely be a trip on the cards either later this year, around Christmas time, although I'd imagine it's quite expensive, or early part of next year, because I'm actually hoping to have a cheeky weekend in Paris later this year, maybe Italy, depending on how much it costs to get there, and of course accommodation. But so the Spezial Rauchbier. Now, of course, if you want a full, concise history of this beer, then I do highly recommend checking out James from RampantLionReviews. His review of this, as with all his reviews, he goes into the brewery history, and he had a hell of a lot of good things to say about this one, because, like me, he's into this sort of beer. But of course, massive thank you to Rob from Hopzine for providing me this beer, and the Kreutzen from Schlenkerla. So really excited to try this. So without any further ado, let's get the beer open and see what we get. Going to be using my Manchester Union Lager pint glass for this. One of my favourite glasses now. I was going to use my my Augustina glass, but I thought, let's get some use out of this one. By the way, Manchester Union, if you like your lagers and you're in the Manchester area, definitely give them a try, because just when I was there, they only had a light lager and a dunkel, but they were both absolutely magnificent, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that brewery does in the future. In fact, I'm wearing a Manchester Union t-shirt whilst reviewing this, and I even got a Manchester Union pin, which is a bit spinny, but I'm not going to complain. And there's the logo on the tee, just perfectly positioned on the man breast, although this denim jacket kind of makes you look a tiny bit thinner. Anyway, let's not get bogged down in that. Let's have a look at the beer itself, and yeah, what you want with a beer like this. I'm not too sure if this is a Märzen, or if it's just a general lager brewed with Rauch malts. But it's looking fantastic. Lovely chestnutty look to it. Nice filter. It's also got like a cranberry juice look to it as well. And the beer poured with about a lining of a very soft off-white head. But it's certainly looking the part. So let's see what we get on the nose. That's beautiful. I love the pronounced muskiness of this one. Doesn't have, and I know I'm going to be making this comparison, even though there are so many breweries in and around Bamberg that produce these sorts of beers that get way overlooked, but I'm using the Schlenkerla Rauchbier as a sort of reference point, because that's like one of my favourite beers of all time. And spoiler alert, this is probably going to get a 10 out of 10 as well. Beer, sweet smoked ham character that's been glazed with a bit of honey, or like gammon, glazed gammon baked in the oven. There's a lovely sweet woodiness to it. The smokiness is coming out a little bit more as it's breathing in the glass. As all beers do, they develop the longer they're in the glass. Sometimes it gets to a point where it's just like, this is tasting horrible. But yeah, this is pretty much straight out the fridge, because I do like to have these chilled slightly. But I was fannying around for about 10 minutes, so it's not as cold as it was. But yeah, there's no masking of aroma on this beer, even sat outside. Do you know what I mean? It's smelling it's so nice. It's got a sweet, sticky malt character. Reminds you of the malt soft drinks that you could get in Germany as well. It's smelling absolutely wonderful. There's even like a very subtle, herbal, almost rocket-like edge to it. Anyway, without any further ado, let's give it a taste. Prost und Dankeschön, Rob. Oh yes. Starts off deceptively subtle on the intake, but that smokiness just creeps through on the back end. And there's a lovely musky, lingering bitterness that's not too drying on the palate either. It's got a lovely, bold body to it, especially for a 4.9% lager. It's not heavy by any stretch, but it's a lot more bolder than you would expect from a lager. I would say the smokiness, or the sweet smokiness that you get from like a Schlenkerla Rauchbier Märzen, although that's a Märzen style. This does have those slight sweet Märzen qualities, but it doesn't specifically state that it is a Märzen. There's even that like sweet malty dunkel character in there as well. Excuse me, lovely burp, I have to say. Yeah, this is just a beer that you can just sit back and unwind with. Very subtle, berry-like characters coming through, stewed down dark fruits. And these are beers that you can drink straight out the fridge or drink at room temperature. Perfect beers to drink come autumn and winter time, but it still has a drinkability that you could drink this at the height of summer, like we are right now. Of course, it's cooled down slightly, but it's still a bit muggy in the air and that sort of thing. But yeah, these beers just appeal to me. Romanticism aside, it's just appealing to all my taste buds. Of course, I'm always going to say it, I want a bit more of a harsh smoke character. I want it to be in your face. But this is like you know, probably, I would imagine, their most popular um, beer, especially on the export market. I'm sure if you have this straight from the brewery, it's a completely different monster. I found that with specifically my favourite beer of all time, the Augustiner Lager Beer Hell. Drinking it in bottle is one thing, but having it straight from tap in the brew pub, well, the sort of restaurant attached to the brewery, is just it's one of those. Even if you're not really a fan of lagers or German beers, it's one of those experiences that you have to experience before you die, essentially. And I can imagine this with some classic Bavarian hearty food. Oh, it's going to go down a treat. I know you shouldn't really like session these sorts of beers just because of how robust they are and how heavy they would become, like 5 pints down the line. But I want to make that mistake with these sorts of beers. Do you know what I mean? I hate getting drunk, but I could happily just spend a day in the middle of Bamberg, sat outside, and just saying, do you know what? This is my plan for today. I'm going to have some beers, I'm going to have my lunch here, I'm going to have some beers, going to have my dinner here, some beers, then going to have some snacks here, and then obviously go somewhere else for a dessert or something like that. Although I don't really do desserts when I'm eating out. But yeah, this is just wonderful. And as it's slowly warming up in the glass, it's just got that more warming feeling to it. Not in terms of like an alcohol warmth, far from it. You know, it's only 4.9% beer, but it's comforting. It makes you want to just like sit back on the bench, put some music on your phone, and just watch the world go by from the comfort of your own back garden. Do you know what I mean? It's a great people watching beer if you're into that sort of stuff. It's just me, or is it always fun to invent stories about people who you're watching and then following them to see what they do? I don't do that part, but I've always been interested, just one day picking out a random person and just following them, seeing what they get up to, and just trying to get a gauge of what their life is. Am I the only one who does that or thinks to do that? I don't know, maybe. But yeah, this is just wonderful. I will say, it's not knocking the Schlenkerla Märzen off the pedestal, but I'm happy to try as many of these sorts of beers to try and find a beer that will surpass that one. And yeah, I think this is like £3.45 for a bottle. If you come across it, even for a little bit more expensive, it's definitely worth keeping. You can keep hold of these beers for a good while as well. I remember when I first came back from Germany, I brought a few beers back with me, and I thought I'll make a German like beer selection box for my dad. Which reminds me, I think he's actually got last year's vintage ale which he won't drink, which I might take off his hands. But I remember I was just going around like 2 years after. Well, I think it was when I was still living there. I came over and brought me like a little box of German beer, and like the beers themselves were like 2 years old. And you think, oh, 2-year-old lager? No, thank you. But yeah, Rauchbier is just you get a little bit of drop off of the smokiness, but then it lets other flavours come into play, so they do develop. Do you know what I mean? And then I had the Schneiderweiser and Aventinus, which had a couple of years on it, which actually tasted better than buying one of the aged bottles that you can buy, or that's the Aventinus Eisbock, I think. I can't remember. That just gushed everywhere when I bought a bottle of that. But yeah, to cut a long story short, stock up on a beer like this, drink as many as you want fresh, save some for the winter months, see how it ages, see what complexities come out, and yeah, one off the bucket list. And I thank you, Rob, for providing me with this beer, because God knows how long it would have taken for me to get hold of it. So of course, go check out Rob from Hopzine. If you want to see some of the other Rauch beers or smoked beers in general that I've reviewed on the channel, one of my favourite styles. More breweries need to do smoky beers. Cloudwater, you know, I'd love to see them do a Rauchbier. They're really good at the German lager styles. That Doppelbock, the Doppelschwanz, Schwanz is another word for tail. It's a word for tail. Also, it could be used for penis. So don't make that mistake. Schwarz, the Doppelschwarz they did, which was like a hybrid of a Schwarzbier and a Doppelbock, and it worked beautifully. So I'd like to see breweries like Cloudwater do beers like this, or even try and get collaborations on the go with some of these traditional German breweries. But now it's a classic for a reason. It's a 10 out of 10 from me, just because these are the beers that I gravitate to whenever I get the opportunity to try them, and I love it when UK breweries attempt styles like this. So yeah, 10 out of 10 from me. If you've tried it, let me know your thoughts, opinions down below. Go check out Rob, go check out James and his review as well, if you want to know a bit more of the history about the brewery and their location and what other beers they produce. And yeah, I think I need to just spend like a couple of days in Bamberg, and it needs to happen because that sounds like a mecca to me. Anyway, go check out the brewery as well. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I shall hopefully see you all later. Cheers.